Hello YouTube. I'm bringing you a quick, hopefully not quick, replay, and I guess a capability, a look at Gladiator Beast, one of my favorite all-time decks. I've never played them competitively in the nearly 2024, in the nearly 4 years now that I've played Edison. But this is a deck that actually, if you've been looking at the Edison format Discord and a few replays on maybe some of the higher end tournaments. I think it was Peak of the Beak deck just won Hero Signal Glads with Test Ape. I know there was a topping in, was it a topping, a third place list at a $2,000 event somewhere in Texas by a wonderful player by the name Murray. So Murray, and then Spiral's the one who won Peak of the Beak. And I've had Max Rarity Gladiator Beast for a very long time. It was the deck that I played, one of two decks I played during actual Edison format back in 2010. The other being Quick Draw Dandy Warrior, like basically every other normie who played Edison 2010. But it is a deck that's very close to my heart. Anyways, after seeing some of these top lists and being in a chat with Murray and a very other spectacular Gladiator Beast player named Jake Mattern, I'm sure many of you know who that is. If the 20 of you who end up watching this video watch it, you already probably know who Jake is, and certainly who Murray is, because they're very well-known and respected players amongst Edison and probably within Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. But they come up with a build that was pretty similar to this. I changed a few things, but I like the general idea of it and some of the ratios. And I don't want to go over their build. I want to go over this build and basically a longer discussion of, are Gladiator Beast capable in Edison? So Gladiator Beast, one of the most hated decks in Edison, and I understand why. It's kind of a deck that if you draw, it's got like one of two options, right? It's like a dichotomy of, if you draw a hand, it gives your opponent the illusion of they got to play the game, when in reality they just never got to play, because they just, Gladiator Beast either negate, banish, or just remove from the field all options that you had. And as the player who is not playing Gladiator Beast, you just never had a chance to catch up, right? Or you draw the secondary hand where you hit like 5 Glads and My Body's a Shield, or Starlight Road if you main deck it, or something like that. And you just kind of say, oh, well, this was a non sequitur game. This game shouldn't exist. It shouldn't matter. On to the next one. You see here we have a 43 card list. Very odd for Yu-Gi-Oh! Very odd choice. But with this 43 card list, basically the idea here was to get hands that consist of basically the god tier Gladiator Beast type of hand. So where you usually draw 1 to 2 Gladiator Beast with anywhere from 2, 3, maybe even 4 back row. In a format that is filled with a tremendous amount of destruction, to include specifically Heavy Storm, Black Rose Dragon 2 to a lesser extent, and a large prevalence of Stardust Dragon, and then also just filled with beaters in the top decks, such as, we have Vayu Turbo, we have the Synchros, we have Black Wings with Sirocco and Shura, and then we have, heroes that just, obviously Stratos, which also fits into Frogs as well, and certainly like the Duplock. Gladiator Beast, whose strongest monster hits a stat of 1800, typically have a pretty tough time dealing with some of these fields. As a Gladiator Beast player, it is our job to adapt to not only our deck building to match the meta, but game situations. And I think a lot of players who pick up Glads for the first time don't understand how to adapt their gameplay to specific situations. And sorry if this light's flickering a little bit. I gotta turn it sideways and it's kind of bouncing, and I think my camera's catching at a weird angle, so apologies for that. And hi. They really struggle to adjust to gameplay itself. And what I mean by that is, if you see someone who opens up with a hand of Liquori and like 1 or 2 back rows, they pretty much usually just summon Liquori. And actually, let's replace Liquori, because that's a bad example for basically anything that's not one of these two. Let's just say you open up with a Questy or Darius. You'll see them summon them and then set, their 1, 2 back rows maybe, and get blown out by some combination of very common cards. Obviously, the one-ofs like Heavy Storm are tough, and I'm not main Starlight Road to combat that, but even just so much as a normal summon Shura swing, and now they're in a terrible position because they no longer have that Gladiator Beast, when in reality, what they should have done was hold that GB, just set like 1 back row like a Dust Tornado, take the 1800, Dust Tornado a back row in the end phase, next turn, summon a GB, provide provided you have, like, I don't know, Test Tiger, Shrink, or Book of Moon, and adjust your gameplay to match the situation. And I think that's where you see a lot of players mess up. And I kind of noticed this actually specifically watching some of Jake Mattern's replays. He has a YouTube channel. Again, I'll link it if I can find it. I've only watched it once, but I watched all of his videos. I've only been there once, but I watched all of his videos like 2 or 3 times. That he is the perfect example of someone who adjusts their gameplay. And I've only seen Murray on one replay in the Beast Mode, Edison, tournament server, team battle server. I forget what it's called right now. Wonderful server, wonderful opportunity to get some high league gameplay. Definitely check that out if you don't know about it. But Jake in his replays does a great example of adjusting to gameplays. He goes into secondary plays that, let's say, by that I mean you summon a questy attack, and you would think, oh, well, I can banish his, I don't know, I can summon the quarry at 2100, backed up by some back row. I feel great. When in reality, a secondary play would have been going into Ready Airy to remove like a level 4 Blackwing monster from the graveyard. Something that you probably don't think about off the top of your head. Plus back rows means that you're almost completely immune to not only a normal summon beater that this would have given you immunity to, but also now you're immune to Brionic, because you have your back rows for the beaters, but now you have Ready Airy, who plus back row has removed the access to a Brio from Blizzard type of play. So Gladiator Beast is what I'm saying. It has a very unique ability to adapt and really combat all situations. Not all, but a large sum of situations. And a lot of times from what I've seen is you kind of have to play as if your opponent only has, and this might be a bad mindset, only has about maybe 60 to 70% of their cards are live in their hand at any time. I think this mindset actually applies to Edison a lot more, where, a game has to develop a lot to be able to play certain cards. We all talk about brick hands in Edison, when in reality, I don't think it's so much that your hand's a brick, it's just that your hand's not live that very specific one turn that you drew those cards. So Gladiator Beast, when we're going back to this 43 card ratio, that includes 2 to 3 monsters, and hopefully one of those 3 monsters ends up being some combo of, Test Tiger plus a Gladiator Beast, or Hedg Guard, which is actually really good the more I go back and play it. Or Gores. I play Gores in my build. You probably don't see that a lot in other builds, because, I don't know, I guess some people value something like Starlight Road, or who knows, something, maybe a 3rd Shrink, something a little bit more, or Test Ape, something like that. Plus at least 1 GB, and then again 2 to 3 back rows that hopefully can be responsive to that 60 to 70% live hand that your opponent has going on, and then your GB is able to kind of take over the game from there. So going into this, we only run the 1 Prisma. In some builds, and you see it in Spiral's build where he has the Stratos, 2 Prismas, 2 Hero Signals. I think that's actually awesome, and something I do want to try out, and not so much Hero Signal, but definitely the Test Ape version. But I think we all recognize the power that Prisma has, Prisma Test Tiger has. The problem being that, I don't know, I guess Bottomless Trap Hole and Starlight Road exists, and I don't think that's really a problem, because we have My Body as a Shield, and I'll get to that later, but you don't want to overwhelm your hands in a format, in my opinion, where you only have 1 Bestiary, and then a Prisma that can hopefully recycle itself, especially if you're getting it off Hero Signal. You don't want to overwhelm your hands with heroes. Now, I definitely understand a case where you have some combination of 1 Stratos, 1 Prisma, and then some amount of hero cards. I think that you can definitely get a lot of value out of that. I think 2 Prisma and Edison at least, it's not the move. 1 Prisma to 1 Darius, I think, is a really solid combo. You don't want to overwhelm your hands with either one of those monsters and go too far. The 1 Bestie, because it might be the most important Gladiator Beast. And actually, let's do this real quick while I'm thinking about it. Let's go ahead and change this down to Edison format, just so we can actually show, and then we'll save deck. The one allowed Bestiary play max numbers. Unfortunately, Bestiary got limited in 2008, and then they didn't get unlimited again until 2014 or something ridiculous. Who knows? Whatever. 2 requests, pretty standard. I think a quest is actually better than Darius. Darius bringing back to the field is pretty cool and can be useful, obviously, for Gyzaris and Herc plays. But a quest being able to add back War Chariot's insane. But specifically, being able to add back any Gladiator Beast to your hand so you can then summon it and get its effect next time, in my opinion, is a little bit more valuable than Darius. It also plays around bottomless trap holes. So, you know, if you attack into this, go into it, they have to bottomless. Okay, well, let me add any Gladiator Beast. And then I still have that follow-up play. So, not only is it +1ing, which I guess is what it does, but limiting your opponent's resources. And there's a lot to be said in a deck where you can go into a quest and take away one of their 2 bottomless trap holes, which is probably going to end up being the main out to Gyzaris or Bestiary play. One hop, I was off this card for a while. Actually, I was main decking Sangan, and I went back into it because, again, going back to Jake and watching him play, I saw a play where hop just kind of, I don't want to say invalidates, but it beats brain control, and I think that's pretty vital if you're going to be playing Edison format in a format that has relatively weak ceiling, but one of the strongest cards in Yu-Gi-Oh history being brain control. Can just go brain, and then you can no longer play double. You can't go Gyzaris and double Licori, right? Because they have brain control. If they brain control while you have these 2 on the board, usually results in you having at least one. They have to have some way to convert, whether it be a tribute or synchro. Again, very common, but I guess if they have it, they have it. But there's no way they can just brain control and then just like Licori crash or something like that. 1 Merillo, or 2 Licori, again, a pretty standard. This has been a card that I've kind of been debating. It's going to sound terrible. This is a card that I could see someone either running 1 of or running 3 of. It's a very powerful card, but it's also a card that doesn't do anything. And not that it does anything. It puts on a lot of pressure. So you definitely want to run the 2. But if someone ran 3, like, I would understand it. I think that space is better utilized for some of these other cards. But if someone also wanted to go in a different build that focused a little bit more on the Test Ape Prisma engine and only ran 1 Licori, I get it. I do run the 2 Licori because it's Licori. It's 1800. You have very few ways to actually just combat very normal plays, such as turn 1 Blackwing Summon or Stratos. Very, very common plays. Licori is one of those ways to offset that play. Being able, I don't want to say crash because that's you're down bad if you have to crash Licori, but it's an option. Merillo, you don't run. I don't want to say you don't want to run more than 1, but 1 has been, I think, all any players ever needed, and there's a reason that we only run 1. This card's so good. I have played several games where I just end up going, like, throughout the course of a whole game, plus 3, 4, 5, just from having access to Merillo. If I had to actually just speculate without any numbers in front of me, and just making up off the top of my head, because I love passing disinformation, Merillo might be amongst the most important Gladiator Beast. Maybe even the most. I would put this up there just behind Aquesi. I think Aquesi is most important. Bestiary, obviously, because you have Gyzaris. But I think this deck functions without Gyzaris. Aquesi being the most important. Merillo kind of being that secondary importance, because it does so much for the deck. It's unfair. You can just go like a Secutor. Let's say they have just Stardust Dragon Pass, and you are able to Book a Moon it. Somehow you have a live Secutor, whatever reason, Secutor attack, go into Merillo and like Rediari, I guess. You have to have like an activated effect. Go Chainlink 1, Merillo, Chainlink 2, Rediari banishes, then Merillo destroys. They can't interrupt the chain, so they can't chain Stardust to these 2 mandatory effects. So Merillo does provide an out to things that typically cannot be outed. So I just really like it. And then we have 2 Rediari main deck. Probably don't see this. A lot of people will go maybe 1 main deck, 1 side deck. I think it is just generally a good enough card that if 1 gets banished, you want to have the second one. And it does, in Edison format, gives a lot of positivity. Just banishing Graveyard. We all know Edison's kind of divulged into, how do I put this? I think it was Crow's Nest channel, Snack, maybe someone else, that said something a couple weeks ago on one of their videos along the lines of, Edison format is really just Dad Return Part 2. Being that Dark Arm Dragon is ran in like 90 or 80% of the winning decks almost every single event. And, well, okay, let's combat that. Rediari, which also combats, obviously, zombies, Blackwing, turns off a lot of Blackwing cards, which is very important. Blizzard is crazy good. Vayus, of course, Treeborns, and Frogs have kind of adapted, but it also gets rid of the Miracle Fusions. Hero Blast, right? Rediari does a lot. So I definitely think the ability to go into like double Rediari or just having 1 in deck, if something happens the first one, whether it be Deep Prison or whatever, hugely important, hugely important. And at this point, catches a lot of people off guard. This is something a lot of people don't run, but again, I really appreciate Jake Matterns and Murray's point of view is double Sand Knight. Going Test Tiger into double Sand Knight is very powerful. You do want the double Sam Knight because sometimes you just have a situation where first Sam Knight goes, and then just going in Test Tiger is not going to do a whole lot. So you do want to have that double Sam Knight available. I will say though, what I do find myself is going usually Sam Knight, Test Tiger as normal, into Seor, and this is a card that for years I played this deck, because I think I really played this deck from 2008, 9, and 10. I played this deck for a pretty long time. I never ran Seor. I never even gave this card a second look. But the more I play it now, the more I'm like, man, this card just, it opens up all your plays. And when you're running 43 cards, drawing into it, I haven't experienced it being overly noticeable. And I think Gladiator Beasts get away with 43 cards because some decks, let's take Blackwings. You want to get to that Black Whirlwind. Frogs, you want to get to the Substote Swap. Gladiator Beast doesn't have a card that it wants to get to as hands that it wants to get to in a very different manner. That I don't want to get to that one-of card, that Future Fusion type card as fast as possible. I just want a hand that's balanced, whether it be 1, 2 monsters with several back rows, right? That's what I'm looking for as Gladiator Beast player. So running 43 cards, I have never come into a situation, I have, but very rarely do I come to a situation where Segitor is just like, oh, I drew 1 Segitor and 3 Dust Tornadoes. It happens, right? It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a game we play. We move on. But it opens up a lot of plays. Like I said, it outs Stardust. It opens up Laquari into Herc plays, sets up Gazaris plays, Darius, Equest. It does everything. Segitor at 1, I really enjoy. Gores, not much be said. Everything in this deck, for the most part, especially looking all quick play spells, pretty chainable for the most part. Compulsives, chainable, triple Dust Tornado. You really set yourself up in a good position to be able to go just set 1 back row if you have Gores in hand. They attack. Okay, well, let me use the back row on your attack. I take the damage. You lose Bottomless Trapple, Deep Prison, whatever, to my Gores, or to my Dust Tornado. And then, okay, I just took 1,800, 2,000, whatever, drop Gores. And now you're in a really bad position. I like Gores because Gores does something very few cards do. And it's like something like Spear Reaper or other things, right? Gores, obviously, you get the +1 from the token, but it forces outs, and that's what's more important. Gladiator Beast shine in a simplified game state. And actually, because of that, I've thought about even adding Spear Reaper, just for those, one-of pokes that just randomly discard a card. Those small, tiny little +1s add up to huge advantage over the course of, an entire game. So if I'm able to go Gores, and this applies for any deck, but I think Gladiator Beasts need it to where other decks, they might not need it nearly as much. If I'm able to go Gores and just attack with 2 tokens, and let's say, or the Gores in the token, it outs 2 Deep Prisons, or even if I just out 1 Mirror Force, that Gores has done so much for Gladiator Beast moving forward in that specific game. So obviously it's 2,700, it's really big. We know what Gores does, but it's that secondary, I guess, positive that it adds, that it forces certain cards to be used. Again, in a similar manner that like Spirit Reaper. Spirit Reaper forces a Book of Moon, a Deep Prison, a Mirror Force, a Torrent on summon, because they know they're going to lose something from their hand, which means a little bit less from other Gladiator Beasts work out. Hedg Guard, a card that I've been shockingly surprised of. Again, a card that in the past I would have just overlooked it. No interest, not worried. What's cool about it though, as a one-of, I don't think running any more than 1 of in the main deck, right? You see I side 1 in the main deck. I don't think running any more than 1 Hedge Guard is needed, but it's really cool, especially in a Blackwing matchup, or I guess like Fairy Light Swarm, is it can be chain and damage step, subset 4, which I believe is damage calc, pardon me if that's wrong. So let's say I have boosted Laquari, they summon Shura, attack, drop Glute. Okay, chain Hedge Guard. They'll lose that. I get to tag out for Merillo, one of my favorite Gladiator Beasts. This card's so cool. It's so cool. And then because of Hedge Guard, I just got Laquari into Merillo, destroyed that, and now hopefully that's their only monster, right? Because Hedge Guard only blocks from 1 attack. And that was unfortunately, I found that out the hard way. It's only 1 attack that turn. But Hedge Guard protects from it, and then I tag out, and now they have, hopefully, again, an empty field that I can hit with that Merillo and go into whatever's appropriate for the situation, whether it be Bestiary to back row, Rediari to remove something from the grave, or going into Sam Knight. The Sam Knight's another card that just is, I don't really see people talk about the pressure Sam Knight adds just from the tag. When you're running Shrinks, Book of Moons, and stuff like that, Sam Knight being able to search out Chariot is great. 1,600, not the best stat, but not a bad stat. Obligatory Rescue Cat, maybe the best card in the deck. Test Tigers. I see some players also dropping Test Tiger. I know I've seen a couple online profiles that drop Test Tiger down to 0 copies if they're running more of a control build because they don't want to lose to oppression, which is fine. I get it. And higher like Hoplama stats. But I've seen some people who run like Hamster, Super Nimble Mega Hamster. And they take that to go into like Test Ape or Sam Knight, but they don't run the Test Tiger, which to me is odd. I think Test Tiger really shines. I would never run Rescue Cat without triple Test Tiger. It opens up your plays too much. Test Tiger's, where did I see it? It's not a monster. It is a monster, but it's essentially a spell that says turn a Gladiator Beast into a different Gladiator Beast. Not really a monster. I don't know. If you're going to run one Test Tiger, pardon me, I had surgery recently on my nose, so sometimes I get some problems. But if you're going to run one, then run two. If you're going to run two, then run three. I think Test Tiger is one of the best cards, and it's a card that really makes deck go around. Mandatory quick play spells. Everything here reactionary great. What I will note, the only thing I think is important here is that I run My Body as a shield over main deck Starlight. Starlight protects against obviously Heavy Storm, and when you're running 16 traps plus a bunch of quick play spells, that makes sense. However, that's one card that I guess every deck runs. My Body protects against much more numerous cards, and Hero Beat protects against is it Hero Blast? Whatever that trap card return is. Gemini Spark, Icarus Attack, Torrent, Mirror Force, Black Rose, Bottomless. That's the biggest one, actually. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Bottomless. Stardust Dragon. It protects against other Starlight Roads. Smashing Ground, I guess, sometimes you randomly see. But essentially, I think, for main deck purposes, My Body as a shield covers a lot more than Starlight Road. But I do side deck the Starlight Road for certain matchups, whether it be, Black Wings or Light Sworn, I think, are the appropriate matchups to put in Starlight Road. Or maybe if I just expect something like, I don't know, a Debris Dragon into Black Rose type of plays. Maybe Starlight Road's a way to go. And then just pretty standard traps. Triple Dust Tornado you probably don't see. This is really because you just need that back row protection. If I'm not going to run the Heavy Storm, I think Dust Tornado is needed. Also, obviously, the resistance against oppression. Only 2 main deck War Chariot. I do side the third for like Monarch matchups. And actually, maybe even Diva Hero. I think that'd be really good in Diva Hero, but I haven't played against Diva Hero. I've only played this for 5-6 matches so far, I think, and I've won all of them. And we're going to go over some of those replays. I'm going to pull out and look at some of those real quick. And then side deck, I think, is just kind of a reinforcement of main deck. So we have some Blackwing hate, something that can kind of hit some backwards. I haven't tried this yet in any of my matches, but Jake put me on this, and I've thought for a while, I don't think there's anything wrong with the thought process. I've also thought the same thing, that a side deck Transmigration Prophecy can kind of just hit a lot of cards, and I don't know. I don't know if its redundancies are great when you're already main decking 2 Ready Aries. I don't know, but it could, I guess. Could blink out a Vayu, could blank out Miracle Fusion. Hit 2 Treeborns. I know, in general, it could kind of get you there. Put a Gladiator Beast back in deck to recycle. Nothing wrong with that. And nothing special here. So let's go ahead and exit. I want to go over a few replays, and maybe even just one. But essentially, again, going back to see my question, are Gladiator Beasts viable? I think they're very viable. So you see a lot of win losses, but I think this one right here might be my very first Gladiator Beast replay. Was when I started playing this, and I played against... Oh, no. That's D2, and he smoked me. He was smoking me every single time. Played some individual games. But yeah, right here against Grid XT is when we start playing against some Gladiator Beast gameplay. This is going to be a long one. I don't know. I haven't made a YouTube video in a long time, and I love Gladiator Beast. So let's go ahead and fast forward. Luckily, I won some rock, paper, scissors. Very important for Gladiator Beast. Very important. An opening hand, again, with those 43 cards. A water deck. I've been seeing a lot of water decks. Not super competitive, but I've been seeing a lot of water decks. We hit that ratio of, the 1 to 2 monsters with several back rows. Heavy resistance, right? I'm just looking for heavy resistance. Heavy storm resistance. Trap Dust Shoot, obviously, is going to get chained right away. Shrink basically means Ready Ari's unbeatable by essentially every card, and you have to have some weird combo of honest or whatever to beat it. But then I have Hedge Guard to kind of back that stuff up. So Dust Shoot goes right away. I think I actually send... I don't remember this at all. Definitely Diva, because I just beat everything else. And what do I do here? Yeah. I Hedge Guard because... So Hedge Guard's a little bit... How do I put this? It requires more on board than Shrink. Or Shrink can also protect me against like Bottomless Trap Hole or something. Hedge Guard doesn't. So I already have, you know, a battle in play. So I can just go ahead and Hedge Guard and then tag Ready Ari out into that Merillo. Oh my, it's so good. That's so good. He sets... and also, you know, luckily for me, I'm now resistant to this Trap Dust Shoot. But he has 3 back row. So I definitely do summon the Samnite. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, because I used Trap Dust Shoot. I knew chances are he didn't have Heavy Storm. I forgot about that. Heavy Storm or Mirror Force. So let's just take advantage of situation. He scoops. Real quick scoop. Knew the writing on the wall. I think at this time I actually was main decking Starlight Road. I ended up taking out. But here, so we have some kind of hero beat deck, which another Trap Dust Shoot. This time they get it going. They shoot Hoplomus, which I'm not sure they had a right choice. I don't think Grid XD had a right choice. His hand is just really good. Again, his other back row is just Book of Moon. So, yeah, this hand's pretty good. Ready Ari plays around Bottomless Trap Hole. So that's why I choose that over the Quarry. Because I want to save the Shrink. And then again, this Merillo play also plays around Bottomless Trap Hole, Tori, and everything. So, again, look, I just got, I think, like a +2 or something like that off of the Merillo Tiger combo. And now I'm protected against basically everything. So we take the hit. We have a Quarry. It's so good. We have a Quarry. So good. And I believe, again, did I have Dust Shoot? No. I didn't have Dust Shoot, but I think in this situation, just better to start getting rid of those hero monsters. There's no... I could have gone to a quest to get back Merillo. But when you see Stratos in water, it's... I lose. I don't have the... the War Chariot to protect against Absolute Zero with Shrink. So it's definitely just resist to play. And then maybe next turn I can go grab Merillo back to hand. Which I... Oh, okay. So he does do that. And I can't Shrink because it's too strong. It's at 3,000 right here. Because of the boost from the water. And again, I have no way to out it, so I just take the hits. Just take the hits here. That's tough. Yeah, just lose. Go to next game. Got the return, got the brain, got the miracle. This next game. And, we're just going in. I do keep the one space open in case I draw anything good, but he has a really good combo. How does this work out for me? I end up winning, of course. I here must hit War Chariot. Oh, I think I got lucky. If I top deck a Gladiator Beast. And we go, Merillo. It's too good. And I don't know what this guy was playing. This guy's on every single combo possible. Ooh, good hit. I think a lot of these plays kind of like... There's nothing special to talk about in these plays. It's to show Gladiator Beast do an incredible job. I do have the Starlight Road, so I'm not worried about Torrent or Mirror Force. And this could have, again, been like my body or anything. Do a really great job of just kind of wearing down the opponent's resources little by little. I think I have the other D prison. What just happened? Did I de-prison that attack. And then they still Miracle Fusioned. Is that what happened? I de-prisoned the Alias. And then they Miracle Fusioned it. I must have missed that. That's okay. It doesn't matter. Because I got Merillo. And Starlight Road. So we win there. Showing off the power of Starlight Road. But again, that Starlight Road could have been my body as a shield. Let's see. I'm going to go over one more replay. And not really go over because I think these are really just very clear. This is the most recent. Was this guy playing? This guy was high rated. Actually, all 3 of these were pretty highly rated. I forget. But I think this one was on Value. I think he was on Value. So we'll watch this one. It's not really anything to go over. It's just, let's watch the replays just to show, hey, Gladiator Beast, it has what it takes. And if you don't think so, I think you're in the minority. you need to learn how to play. You need to learn how to play when you're playing Gladiator Beast, and it's a different type of play. It's very similar to like a fairy play style. Here I just set the trap dust shoot. So this is as I added everything. I just set the trap dust shoot because I want to make that Gores live as soon as possible. Or is that a lie? It's not. So I see the turtle. I got to get rid of it because he has the Gale. And then he also has his own dust shoot, which is unfortunate, but I got the Gores. So I'm expecting the set dust shoot, and I'm expecting the other one to just go ahead and be that deep prison. What's interesting, and I don't think it's the wrong choice, I try and, again, use that Gores to get that +1 beta at the deep prison. He saves it. It's not the wrong choice by any means. He's saving that deep prison for the Liquori, but I'm not going to do it. So he just takes all these hits, and there we go. There's the My Body to protect. Maybe Starlight Road definitely in this specific situation would have been better, but if I only had one monster, My Body is obviously better. And here I kind of rip a really good hand. It looks bad, but again, Test Tigers are monsters. Test Tigers are not monsters, they're spells. So I open a pretty good hand, and it's the deep prison. Here I am trying to actually set up a Darius play. I think I got lucky. So I was trying to set up a Darius play, and if you see, he has Book of Life. I knew he had it. I knew he had Gale. This is kind of a misplay on my part. He could have just summoned, attacked with both, or synchroed. I don't know what he's scared of. He could just attack with both. You have a Goblin Zombie, so you're not scared of anything. Destroyed that main phase 2 synchro out to Armor Master, let's say, and then Book of Life, banishing my Bestiary, which could have been bad, but he doesn't do that. I'm not going to say he made a bad play, because he doesn't know what this back row is. I guess I could have compulsed the Goblin Zombie, and it still would have set up my play later on. But the back row's deep prison. So I do end up going into Bestiary. I think it's next turn. Is it this turn? Yeah, it is. So he didn't attack, so he used Ancient Fairy to special summon. He's trying to wall up, which is fine. I get it. Here we set the Merillo. I want that one back in the deck over Sam Knight, so I have the option to go into it after this play. We're going to pop both of those. I take a little bit to think about this play here. And I do attack, take the 600. We're going to go into... There it is, the double. I know he has that Book of Life, but the double Rediari. We're banishing all his plays. Test Tiger's in the grave, so I'm going to get a monster. If he summons something else, one of these are going to get destroyed. One way or the other, I'm going to have a monster in the grave for that Book of Life. And he just ends up quitting. So that was a quick 2-0, I guess. Not fair because I suppose I had double trap dust shoot both games. But you can see, even when drawing super monster heavy hands, I didn't even need the Test Tiger. Actually, I only used one trap dust shoot, and I won just off the monster effects alone for the rest of the game. Essentially, what I'm trying to show is anyone who tells you Gladiator Beast is a low-tier deck is probably someone that just hasn't faced a competent Gladiator Beast player, such as Jake or Murray. You know, if you're interested in Gladiator Beast, I wouldn't make it your first deck if you're getting into Edison. Take the time to learn it, though. It definitely has unique capabilities that other decks do not have. Final statement, Gladiator Beast are good. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.